I'm the kind of person that always has a plan. Going out, Shravya, what plans, girl? Upcoming tournaments? What's the plan? How are we going? Meeting relatives? Beta, what are your future plans? I always have an answer. I always have a plan. I've been so well planned that for my 21st birthday, I threw myself a surprise party. I've always known with so much clarity exactly what I wanted to do that at the age of 7, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I was hell-bent on sticking to the plan. The plan? To be a tennis player. And for the most part as a kid, the plan unfolded pretty well. Growing up, I used to win a fair amount of tournaments. In my entire junior career, I won enough trophies to fill up the showcase at home. You could say winning came pretty easily to me. Now, planning is a good thing, no doubt about it. But not everything in life goes exactly to plan. And I used to be the kind of girl that would spiral when things didn't go my way. I was a sore loser. I would throw tantrums. I would make excuses. Basically, I didn't like it when things didn't go according to my plan. I mean, who would? The whole world fell apart when the pandemic hit. It was a very difficult time for a lot of people. To me, the timing was awful. Just before the pandemic, I had won 2 medals at the South Asian Games. I was 19, a young star who transitioned pretty well from the junior tour to the pro tour. I was in fact one of the youngest players on the team. It was all going so smoothly. And like most athletes, my entire identity was dependent on what I do. I was a tennis player. So when COVID hit and that was taken away from me, I fell apart faster than a stack of Jenga blocks. I lost motivation. I lost my sense of purpose. My competitive spirit was gone. And also, I lost my youth. Safe to say, I didn't handle the lockdown very well. It was not part of the plan. Now, once the lockdown was over, I thought I was back on track. I worked quickly to get back on court and I started competing again. I won my first pro tour title and also the nationals alongside my best friend. I felt like I was performing well, but something still felt off. The pressure to succeed and win was pretty intense. I remember constantly pushing myself to the limits to perform, and in the process I hurt my hip. I was asked to rest it out, but I was too stubborn. I didn't want to fall behind on the rankings, so I kept playing on the bad hip. Now, since I wasn't able to give my 100% physically on court, my mental health also took a hit. Early in the season, while I was playing a tournament in Nagpur, I experienced some tightness in my chest. I felt my vision blur. I had a panic attack. I had to withdraw from the match, but I thought it was some kind of sunstroke or something like that. So that very afternoon, I played my doubles anyway. And after the tournament, I realized that I was struggling mentally. So then I decided to go to therapy. I took some time off from competition. But then, in a month, I immediately went off to compete again. Because the tour doesn't stop for anyone. When I came back from a long 10 to 12 week tour from the US, I was drained, both physically and mentally. I was losing back-to-back weeks. I had no goal, no motivation, no direction. I was so lost. I just wanted to quit. I moved back home and I took a break. I was considering total retirement from the sport which I now started to hate. Now, during this break, I went bowling with an old friend. And I was losing. And as you know by now, I hate losing. But this time, for some reason, I didn't seem to care. My friend noticed this and he said, "Where's the fire? You're losing." And I said, "It's just a game." And he said, "I know, but why aren't you trying?" That one remark snapped me out of it. Why wasn't I trying? I didn't like it. I was losing and I didn't like it. I didn't like failure. So I was just giving up. A few months before this incident, I was having a chat with one of my coaches. And I was telling him how I don't really care about tennis and it's just about winning for me. And he took a long pause and he said, I think you say you don't care because you're trying to protect yourself from the hurt of failure. If you say you don't care and you lose, you think you'll feel less bad about the loss. When he said this, I felt a little bit attacked, but I shrugged it off because my ego was fine at the time. I was winning. Anyway, back to the bowling alley. After I got thrashed in bowling, I was very upset. I went back home and I sat down and I introspected. One of the biggest things we learn from sport is supposed to be how to take a loss. You're meant to learn from your mistakes and move on to the next one. How to win with dignity and lose with humility. Oops, I messed that up. That was not part of the plan. How to win with dignity and lose with humility is what is the fundamental lesson you learn in a sport. Especially in tennis, you lose a lot more than you win. There are times when you lose a match even when you win more points because you didn't win the right ones. When you play doubles and you lose a point, the first thing your doubles partner tells you is, it's okay, next point, no worries, we got this. Now I knew all of this. What I needed to do was apply it even off the tennis court. So I pulled up my socks and I came up with a new plan. The plan this time, much simpler. Try. Always try. No matter what I was doing, to always give my absolute best. So I set out to fix my life one step at a time. My dad always said 1 point at a time. So I applied that. I found a solution for my hip pain, which was so bad at this point that I couldn't even sit in a chair. I made some changes. I switched my entire environment for some new perspective. I got back on the tour. I improved my ranking. I won a couple of medals at the national games, and I even got to represent India at the World University Games, and I made it to the top 16, which is a pretty big deal. Things were getting better. I was working hard, I was trying, and slowly I felt like I was getting back to shape. Now last January, my doubles partner and I had the opportunity to compete in a big tournament in Indore. But this tournament happened to be in the week of my birthday. Now Little Miss Birthday Girl has always had very high expectations for her birthday. So much so that I don't even compete during that week. Why? Because I always have plans. Now since I worked on being less uptight and putting in the work and letting go of control, I decided to play the tournament instead. And the interesting thing is, my dad and I, we share a birthday. And we've never spent a birthday apart. This was going to be the first time. Or so I thought. On my birthday and the match day, I prepped like I would on any other day. I got on court like always. I was leading in the match, I was playing fine. I hit a ball, I ran to the net, I changed directions, and snap. I went crashing down. I felt blinding pain in my knee. And at that moment, I knew it was bad. I knew that my career was over. This was how it was going to end. On my birthday, at my favorite venue. My knee was swollen like a water balloon. It was so chaotic. My friends had to carry me off the court. We had to rush to the hospital. One of them had to call my dad. And on his birthday, he had to come all the way to come get his birthday girl from the hospital. Talk about an eventful birthday. When we flew back home, I was told I had torn my ligament clean off. I was broken, quite literally. I knew it was going to be a challenge. I had to get surgery. There was no way around it. Who knew if I would ever make it back on court? The doctors said 12 months at least, a whole year. What was I going to do? Sit and cry, for starters. But surgery was only the first step. My parents and I sat down and we had to discuss a plan of action. Should I come back? Should I switch careers? Should I retire? And then my mom said, you can't retire, not like this. 15 years from now, I don't want you to look back and think, what if I had tried? So I decided to keep the option of a comeback open, but at this point of time, I had bigger fish to fry. I had to relearn how to sit, I had to relearn how to stand, how to walk, how to get through excruciating pain on a daily basis. So again, we broke it down, one step at a time. The goal was not a miraculous comeback. The goal was to try and maybe come back to normal. The only rehab I was allowed to do, which was very little, I did with all of my heart. The kind of discipline it took to fight the pain and get back stronger was something I had never done before. And the worst part was this was the kind of process that I couldn't speed up. I had to be patient. Recovery takes time. A little too much push and I would be back to square one. It was a very difficult phase, and while all of this was happening and my competitors were getting ahead of me, my ranking was dropping and I started panicking. I was having doubts, I was having fears. Clearly, my future in tennis wasn't looking too good. My rank in singles was 9 in the country and it dropped to 40 and then to 290 and then to not having a rank at all. Years and years of work was gone in less than a year, just like that. I'd lost my identity again. But this time around, I was determined not to lose who I was. And who I was not just a tennis player. I was talking to my childhood best friend about this, someone who didn't leave my side through all of this. And she showed me an essay she had written as a kid. It was about me. The essay didn't talk that much about me being a tennis player. It was more about how I always put effort into everything I did and had a good time doing whatever it is I was doing. So I set out to find my identity again, this time outside of tennis. So I traveled, I pursued some childhood interests like music and painting and reading. I took a step back and I let life come to me while I sat around waiting for my injury to heal. I got the opportunity to commentate for the French Open. I was asked to be a chief guest at a preschool graduation. I taught my friends how to play tennis. I learned how to drive. Not well, but I did. I watched a lot of sports, a lot of movies live. But the most important thing is, I got to witness the Olympics in person in Paris. And that was truly inspiring. That's where I wanted to be. Now, while doing all these side quests of sort, I realized that no matter who I am or what I do, tennis will always be a part of me. And being away from the sport made me realize how much I loved it and how much I was missing it. Regardless of the obstacles and the injuries, the pains and the losses, I still wanted to do what I wanted to do at 7, to play tennis. I owed it to myself to try. And I did. 7 months post-surgery, I was back on court. But obviously, I couldn't get back immediately to who I was. I had to exercise restraint. I was only allowed to play for 30 minutes to start with. Oh, it was so frustrating. I had to make the hard decision to possibly give up singles, unsure of how my knee was going to handle it. I realized that no matter how good my planning was, what I couldn't control, I just couldn't control. I had to make do with what I've got. More importantly, make the best of what I've got. Now you're all probably expecting this to be some kind of iconic success story where I came back and I immediately won the nationals or something like that. Ideally, that would have been the plan, had I planned. But I didn't, because now I know that that's not how life works. There is no clear-cut path to success. There is no right answer. All you can do is try and hope for the best. You can't fight the tide. You can only swim and hope to catch a few good waves. Now, since I've gotten back on court, I've played a lot of really good matches and I obviously strive for success. But success might not always be what you expect it to be. To me, wearing these heels, my birthday heels, and standing before you today is a huge success because last year today I was in a wheelchair. All I'm saying is success is relative, but failure on the other hand, failure is inevitable. What truly matters is how hard you work and how hard you try to get back up again. Nonchalance is overrated. It's cool to try. Effort matters. Back when I was on my way home from the flight after the fall with my dad was obviously distraught and he said to me, I wish I didn't put you in this sport. You never would have gone through this much pain. And I remember with zero hesitation and absolute clarity I had said, who I am, I wouldn't be without tennis. Because whether I had a racket in my hand or not, who the sport has made me would never fade. No matter what path I choose, whether I ever win a medal again or not, if I write a book or become a CEO, the one thing that's never going to change is I'm always going to try.